time for the Straight Up Wrestling Show.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's HBT, man, with the Straight Up Wrestling Show. I'm with my man, Christopher Burton, man, and the L, we don't know what that stands for, but Christopher Burton is in the house, the HBT guys, and hey, we about to rock this thing out, guys. We're going to talk about Vince McMahon a little bit, but before I do that, man, hey, give me just a second. I'm going to shut this closet that's behind me, but Chris, go ahead and start them off, bro.
All right, guys, like I said, man, welcome to the Straight Up Wrestling Show. We're going to talk about Vince McMahon a little bit here, guys, and why he sold 8.4 million shares of his stock, $8.4 million worth of shares of his stock, and still got 30% controlling interest. But before we get into that, guys, hey, this is what we need y'all to do. If you're on Facebook, which some of you will be, hit that like, share, and follow. And if you're on YouTube, which a lot of you guys are, hit that like, share, follow, and subscribe. And if you're on Twitch, which we are live on Twitch, by the way, we're on live on Twitch today.
Yeah,
do the same thing you do on YouTube. And if you're on X, hit that like, share, tweet, and retweet, and follow the Straight Up Wrestling Show. So, Harry, man, yeah, I saw this, man. You let me know about this yesterday, man, and I had to, and I was like, okay, I saw the article on it and everything. I was reading up on it and stuff, man. And next thing I know, somebody posted on their Facebook, and one of my wrestling buddies said that Vince is slowly being forced out. And I ain't gonna lie, I find that very laughable.
Yeah, it is laughable.
I mean, it's not happening. I mean, you got to think, man. You got to think. Now, look. Let's say Vince had 100 shares, complete and total control.
Exactly.
He sells $8.4 million worth of it, knocks him down just a little bit under 30%, and he still got controlling stock and shares and power.
Right.
So that makes you wonder, how much did he really have, man? I mean, it had to be way over more than 100%. Had to be.
Man. All right, what's up, AJ Scales? Look, people are going to go out there and they're going to speculate. And the bottom line, and it's the truth, guys, and it's not just harping on anybody out here, man, who's a fan or anything. I'm just gonna be straight up. Most fans, the majority of fans, do not understand the business world. They just don't. So they're gonna come up with all kind of things, and they're seeing this thing happen. And we both know, Chris, that for years a lot of people have been wanting Vince McMahon out of the company. So thing, I mean, if Vince McMahon just sold all of his stock and just left, he was forced out of the company. I don't care what had happened. I don't care if Vince McMahon said, I'm 78 years old, man. I'm tired of this. I'm gone. People be all, they forced him out. They kicked him out. That's how people are going to come at this. Straight up.
And I mean, and I thought about this while I was at work, man. I went in early this morning at 5 o'clock, and I thought about this, man. I was like, there are a few wrestling fans that truly understand business.
Right.
There are a few. I mean, there are a few that legitimately understand business, how things work, how everything works. And then there are some that, like you said, that just don't like Vince McMahon to the point where they just want him gone because of some things he's done in the past.
Exactly.
Well, now, you know what? Is Vince a perfect guy? No. Has he done everything by the book? No.
No.
But I will give this man this, and I'm going to give Vince McMahon his flowers. If it wasn't for Vince McMahon and his forward thinking, wrestling wouldn't be a worldwide phenomenon that it is today.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. Yeah, I mean, it would have still.
It would still be in smoky armories and auditoriums every Monday night and stuff, getting only a couple of thousand people, whereas now you're getting damn near 1 million people. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm just generalizing.
Yeah, I know you're generalizing. I mean, it's still, look,
But you see what I'm saying?
It will be bigger than what it is today. I'm gonna go ahead and say this. If Vince McMahon never would have did what he did, wrestling still will be bigger, but it still will be a regional thing. It would not be on the level of national TV type level. It'll be a regional TV type deal with everything. Like you still will have the regional promotions. You still will have Mid Atlantic on Channel 4. You still will have your WWE coming on the USA Network, if that. You still will have, your Georgia Championship Wrestling coming on Channel 7 in Macon, Georgia. You will have your Memphis Wrestling coming on Channel 9 in Memphis and in Knoxville, Tennessee. That's just the way it would be. It definitely wouldn't be the phenomenon. It definitely wouldn't be what it is today. You're not gonna be selling out the Dallas, Texas arena if it wasn't for Vince McMahon. Yes, you will have big cars because Greenwood Memorial Auditorium used to sell out every single week in the auditorium. You definitely had Memphis sold out their Coliseum 10,000 seat arena every Monday night, and Vince McMahon, even when that was a regional promotion, they sold out Madison Square Garden. I think Bruno sold that thing out 84 times. 84 consecutive times. So, and that was over 20,000 people. So it still will be doing that in certain areas. But then you'll have those areas, like you said, Chris, that's hitting that 2,000 mark. But wrestling would not be a spectacle. You wouldn't have a WrestleMania type deal where it's a Super Bowl of wrestling. Now, Jim Cornette, but Jim Crockett did, he came up with the first spectacular with Starrcade, but never got as big as WrestleMania. So we wouldn't have that aspect of the business. And what else would have came up with everything that happened? I don't think so. Yeah. Because Dusty Rhodes' mind didn't start thinking like that till after did it. Crockett did have a mind for the business, and he was thinking big, but nothing on that level. That started happening when he got Dusty Rhodes, and Dusty Rhodes started looking at what Vince McMahon was doing and say, "We got to keep up with this." And then Dusty came up with all those ideas, the Great American Bash and everything. But that still was on a small scale. It was more of a Southern type thing.
And you got to think too, man. I don't know if my screen frozen, but can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you don't have to excuse my screen, ladies and gentlemen. But you got to think, man. I mean, like you said, man. It would be on a more local scale, man.
Yes.
It would still be a thing, but it wouldn't be a big time thing. If you understand what I'm saying, it would still be a thing, but not a big time thing. It wouldn't be a worldwide phenomenon.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, and then you got to think too, man. Vince did a lot for this business, whether you like some of the things he did or don't like him at all. I mean, think about it. If Vince McMahon didn't take this thing worldwide, you wouldn't have your Hulk Hogan's. You wouldn't have your John Cena's. You wouldn't have your Rocks. You wouldn't have your Stone Cold Steve Austin's.
I agree with that.
I mean, come on.
I definitely agree with that. Hulk Hogan would have had a career, but Hulk Hogan, his career would have been what it was before Vince had came in. Now, was Vince responsible? Is he totally responsible? I mean, he's responsible for the phenomenon, for what it became, how it ballooned, how it blew up. He's responsible for that. Now, Hulkamania was already running wild in AWA, and it was getting big out there in the Midwest. So you got to give Vern Gagne credit for that. But Vern Gagne was shutting it down, and Hogan was not getting that belt. There's plenty of times he promised him the belt, and there's plenty of times that he pretty much ended his dreams and had somebody go over him. Either Vern went over him, Nick Bockwinkel went over him. So he wasn't getting that title. And Vince McMahon Sr., now, if he would have kept winning it, Vince McMahon Sr. couldn't stand Hulk Hogan. That's why Tony Atlas dogged Hulk Hogan over there in the WWE, the WWF back then. Tony Atlas went over him all the time. He won that feud. That was the last successful feud. I mean, that was a complete feud that I saw Hogan lose. So, I just don't think he ever would have got to the point where he got to. And then you got to look at other factors involved in it, because there was wrestlers who came back, even though Hogan was he was he was a great looking specimen to look at in this business and everything. There was guys that came after him that had better bodies, that had, that was more athletic. And I mean, because you look at somebody like Lex Luger. Lex Luger had it all aesthetically. And Billy Jack Haynes, those guys, who came after Hulk Hogan, they had more of a physical appearance that was better than what Hulk Hogan had. But Vince McMahon he looked at everything. He looked at the height that Hogan had. He looked at the charisma Hogan had, because that thing that Hogan was doing when he was what he was doing with Freddie Blassie, that was pretty awesome. Like, he come out there and, holding the cape open and, and saying the things about himself. That was pretty awesome. And Vince saw that, and he knew he could elevate it. He elevated it to another point. He never would have got to that status. But yeah, a lot of people hate Vince McMahon so much they think that, hey, he's being forced out of this company. But guys, you're wrong about it, because Vince McMahon was he sits as chairman. He sits as chairman. Even though a lot of people look at Ari Daivari saying, okay, you can't do this, you can't do that. Vince McMahon is the chairman of TKO Holdings, and that is over Ari, who's the CEO of Endeavor. So Vince McMahon has the leverage. Vince McMahon still, after that sale, still has the most stock. He's still the biggest shareholder in the company.
How smart of a businessman you got to be, Harry?
Oh, God.
Think about this now, people. You are the CEO, chairman, owner, proprietor, creator of WWE.
Yeah.
You had it for over, almost 50-something years. Okay. You get to a point, you're like, you know what? I'm kind of tired. I see the bigger picture. I'm going to sell it. Leaves that. Sells his shares to a holdings company. It ends up being the top dog in the damn holding company, Harry.
Yeah.
How does that happen? Think. How do you leave your own company, go to another company that you ain't got no dealings with, and be the top dog over there automatically?
Well, man.
But you see what I'm saying? That's
exactly.
And
I mean, that right there is just smart business, making smart business decisions, knowing your business when you're going in there, knowing what you're signing up for. And people are looking at it that, okay, he went into a business deal. He sold 51% of the WWE, which it got engulfed by TKO Holdings and with Endeavor, and they got 51% of the stake in the business. He got 49%, but Vince really didn't lose anything. People think Vince lost in that deal, but no, because of Vince's power of what his shares of WWE stock meant, it was more shares than what Dana White had, more shares than Ari Daivari, more shares than doggone Matt Shapiro. So Vince has more money and more shares in that company than anybody. His shares are gold standard, black gold standard. Everybody else is lower than that. They own that low gold standard, yet they're not even certified as gold. So he has the biggest shares of stock, man. So if he wanted to pull a card, he definitely can pull his card. And they said it's right there in all the paperwork that as him being the head of the table, him being the chairman of the board, he has authority over everybody else on the board. He can fire members on the board. So, man, I'm just like, you people are not paying attention to what this guy's doing. The guy have not had the answer to anybody since 1982 when his dad sold him that company. Hasn't had the answer to nobody, Chris, as far as in business. So why in the world would he turn around 40 years later and give up that power? The man's not going to do that. He's too smart for that. Dana White, Ari Daivari, none of these guys. And Vince is smart enough to know that listening to Ari Daivari get out here and say, look, we got to do this as a publicity move because a lot of people don't want you running this company. They definitely don't want you as head of the company. Vince, I'm pretty sure each and every one of them, they went to Vince and said, can we say that you're not a head of creative, that you don't have any say anymore? Can we get out here and say that? Do you think Vince is not going to say, yeah, if that's better for business, of course do that? Because you know what? It brings more money to Vince McMahon. It's going to put more money into his pocket. Remember, the stock fell down to $73. went back up to $85. What did Vince do when it went back up to $85? You know the reason it went back up to $85? Because the consumers looked at it like this and said, Vince is not in control for it. It looked good, just like Ari Daivari said. That's going to look good for our consumers, for our stockholders and everything. And more people are going to look at it, hey, he's not in control. And people start looking at the product more, and it eased the minds of the advertisers and everything. More dollars went in, more people started watching the product, or more people bought more merchandise or whatever.
Oh God,
stock went up $12. Vince sold, then Vince went in and sold 8.4 million and 8.4 million shares of stock, $700 million value that went into his bank account. He still has $200 million of stock left. That's worth $200 million. The stock that he has left is worth $200 million, man. So think if he sold that, Chris. Now, if he sold that, I mean, that's up to him. He still, like I said, he can walk out of this business. And then what you have on the back end, I'm hearing Shane McMahon and Stephanie will come back in and pretty much be taking over WWE. Vince have set this thing up to where his family is going to be running this thing
generations. Because I mean, you got to think about it. Shane got all boys. Triple H got all girls. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. I know it's crazy how that worked out, ain't it?
Oh yeah.
One of Shane's sons plays for Indiana University, plays football.
Right.
Now you got to think, Harry. That joker probably paid for 4 years or 5 years tuition and just wrote a check.
Oh, I'm sure.
All 4 or 5 years or however long he want to be in school. And, and ain't got to pay for nothing except candy out of a vending machine.
Oh, no doubt about it.
You know what I'm saying? You got to think, after this kid graduates, if he goes to WWE or goes into the business world or whatever he decides to do with his life, he's set. His kids are set.
Man,
I mean, you got probably about 10 to 15 generations of McMahons that haven't even been born yet are going to be set. All because of what Vince has done and is doing. This man, I mean, Vince, he is smart. Like I said, you may not like his tactics. You may not like everything he's done with WWE and some of the things he's done in the public and, the sexual harassment suits and all this and all that. I get it. Cool. That's your opinion. That's how you feel about him. Fine. But the man, when it comes to business, is
absolute
a genius.
Genius.
Dana White himself, he said, I've known Vince for a long time. Me and Vince have talked on the phone. We joked around this, that, and the other. And we, one day, and he said, we discussed possibly, doing business with each other at one point. Dana White is now in bed with Vince McMahon per se. And Dana White said, Vince is a monster.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to business. He's like, Dana said, I knew Vince was good, but I didn't know he was this damn good. Man, it blew Dana White's mind on some of the things Vince is pulling off, man.
Man, the guy is great. For somebody to take a wrestling company, look, a lot of these wrestling companies, even though they seem big, I mean, to us.
And we're going to get y'all's comments too, guys. Don't forget about it. We're going to get y'all's comments. We see y'all in the comments.
All right, but let me hit a couple of them that's over here on, let's go over here on Facebook. Matthew Lincoln, we see you, man, says, will Punk come back? I think he needs to. And
I would have I'm to not say gonna really.
Yeah, look. It looked like he might.
He may come back, but I doubt if it's gonna be in WWE. And if they do, if he does come back, they hard up for something.
Yeah, I don't know I don't know what it is. And look, they look at it as a everything is open. They look at the doors open now that Vince is pretty much sliding his way out, that the door may be open, but I don't know. But Matthew Lincoln said facts, and that's what we're talking about. Wayne Cochran, my man Wayne is
Wayne, what's up?
Yeah, Scott Larson said, tell them like it is, people's podcaster. What's up, HBT? What's up, Scott Larson? Wayne Cochran says, what's up, guys from Japan? My man Wayne, appreciate you joining us. But we will get to your YouTube comments here in just a moment. But man, it's wow, Chris, man. But Vince got everything worked out, and he can set himself up to where if he leaves out of this company, now he leaves out of this company, take all his money out of this company, you know what's going to happen, right? The stock value will plummet.
Yeah.
For TKO holders, it's going to plummet. And people, I guarantee you, people not thinking like that. It's not going to hold the same value. They wanted to keep Vince in there because of these new TV deals and everything like that.
Oh, yeah,
because Vince know how to negotiate with all these companies, television companies, and all that. But I guarantee you, because if somebody comes in there and pull all their money out, your stock value plummets. It's just like Jerry Richardson when he pulled out all his money and started the Carolina Panthers, pulled it out from Flagstar. Hardee's, Denny's, El Polo Loco, the Quincy's, all the companies that he owned, the stock plummeted. It went down. He pulled out millions, all the money.
Well, you got to think too, because okay, think about it, Harry. Let's say you are a extreme casual wrestling fan. Okay, let's say extreme. You might watch a Monday Night Raw once every other 2 months. You might catch a Friday Night SmackDown. One Friday out every other 4 months. You know what I'm saying? You just read about the dirt sheets here and there. You're extreme casual, but you understand business, and you be like, you know what? I'm gonna buy maybe about $400-500 worth of WWE stock.
Right.
Okay, and you know Vince McMahon, and you know what Vince has got going on, and you know Vince is a top dog in the company. Harry, now you as a extreme casual wrestling fan in this scenario, you got $400-500 worth of stock. You just checking your stock and reading up on the stock times and whatever, and reading the newspaper. You get the word that Vince pulling all his shares up. Now, what's gonna happen in your mind? You're gonna be like, wait a minute. If the top dog running, I need to run.
Exactly. I mean,
even though it may not be because of what you think. Because he gone, you be like, something big happening, I'm out.
Yeah. And the thing is this too. The thing with Dana White. I mean, I'm sorry. TKO is gonna feel a backlash on that when UFC start running shows again, because Dana White, he partnered with Bud Light. And it doesn't matter how you feel about it. Bud Light, man, had a huge backlash, and people are pissed off about that and say they're never going to watch UFC again. A lot of fans. So they are going to be hurting there. They're not going to make money off this UFC deal. And they have the WWE with them. Now, what can happen here? Vince might have been looking at this whole strategy, said, okay, Dana White pulled this move. What happened? Now, Vince McMahon, WWE, what did they do? Remember Bud Light commercials was on at WrestleMania?
Yeah. They were like, shutting that down.
Yeah, people didn't like that. He hasn't been using Bud Light since then, because there was some fans said some things about it and they was laughing and stuff like that. People were like, okay, Vince, you taking the chance. Vince said, okay, we're not going to do that. But Vince, no telling if he was in Dana White's ear or whatever, he might have been telling Dana White, because Dana been listening to him. He said, I listened to him. Vince might have told him, hey, go ahead and take the deal, man. That's $100 million, Dana. Hey, when I was coming up, I went ahead and got as much money as I can. Dana might have took that deal. That's going to hurt TKO Holdings. Vince said, okay, I'm going to sell some stock. And then once Vince sell all of his stock, the WWE, like I said, it's going to plummet. The value of that company is going to plummet. He comes back in, he brings his children back in or whatever, and they buy it with pennies on the dollar. I wouldn't be shocked. I would not be shocked if he comes back in, because a lot of people will pull out if Vince McMahon pull out. A lot of people. And these TV executives, they see Vince is leaving.
Oh man, they gonna pull the plug real quick.
Exactly.
Because they're gonna be making phone calls and be like, what's going on over there? What's happening? Why he leaving? That's who we made the deal with. We know Vince. We work with Vince. Why is he pulling all his shares out? What's going on? Y'all going out of business? What's happening?
Yeah, it's a proven commodity. Vince is a proven commodity. Only other wrestling company that's been big that was a proven commodity been long gone, and that was WCW, and they was a proven commodity for about 3 years there, Chris.
Yeah.
That, I mean, on a national scale, I mean, huge. Of course, it's national scale for a long time, but as far as marketing, being able to be marketed as a major company like WWE, WCW was only did that for about 2 or 3 years. Yeah. So nobody else has been able to do that. So these TV executives, man, they study, they know. They're going to look at this and say, wait a minute now, this guy knew what he was doing. And we're not sure about Triple H. We're not sure about this Ari Daivari. His background is in MMA. You know, it's not really MMA. It's Dana White MMA. But you know, Ari Daivari, Mark Shapiro. Hey, these guys have worked for holding companies. They've been in real estate. They've been doing certain things, breaking up companies and selling off piece by piece. Look, we're not sure about these guys coming in knowing how to run the wrestling product. And I tell you what, these these TV companies, man, they do not work. They do not work like that. You know, by like I said, everything's shaky with AEW. Everything's shaky with Impact. As far as these, you know, these companies, they want to be in business. CW, that's the reason why they jumped on that NXT bill, and they pushed NWA to the side real quick. They jumped on NXT because hey, they know this is a Vince McMahon. This is a Vince McMahon show. Is of course it started out as a Triple H product, but the product is a WWE product. And whose name all over WWE? You can't think WWE without thinking about Vince McMahon, man.
Exactly. Now we're gonna get this comment because I've had this up on screen. My man Scott Larson, #truth, and he posted some good questions in comments sections here. Two of them exactly. Well, I'm gonna get to it, but this one right I got on the screen here. He says, "Do you guys think WWE is good for wrestling, and did they make it too hard for other companies to grow?"
Yeah, they made it hard for companies to grow.
Yeah.
They definitely made it hard for companies to grow. As far as is WWE good for wrestling? Look, I'm gonna go ahead and put it this way. Of course, they was good for wrestling. I'm gonna even though I hated WWE for a long time. WWF hated them. But was they good for wrestling? Yes, because they put it in the mainstream. Nobody else did that. So it's kind of like Vanilla Ice. When Vanilla Ice came into rap, when he came out with Ice Baby, hated his guts for that because I thought it was trash. I'm like, you know, the song is flipping trash. And you know, back then, Chris, you're a hardcore rap fan. You don't want anything out there like that. And it just wasn't just him. It was a 2 Live Crew. You know, I didn't like 2 Live Crew, what they was doing. And, you know, they got out there in the mainstream. But Vanilla Ice, I could not stand that. But you know what? I knew he was good for rap. Rap music wasn't getting that type of publicity. It wasn't getting that type of airplay. You know, besides him and then, you know, Tone Loc and then MC Hammer. I didn't like, when it boils down to it, I did not like those guys a lot, but I did like them to a certain point because they was good for rap music. I thought they watered the product down. But when it boils down to it, they elevated the whole game. And that's what Vince McMahon did. He elevated the whole game. Now, is it his fault that other people couldn't keep up? Is it his fault? Now, Jim Crockett was rolling there for a while, but Jim Crockett put his trust in Dusty Rhodes. And, you know, Dusty is a wrestler, man. Dusty is no businessman. I'm sorry. He's not a businessman. Oh, Dusty, it's like somebody coming in that don't know about money. It's the same thing they say about people that come from certain areas. You know, you might come from poor or whatever, and you get a lot of money at one time. You don't know how to handle it because you never dealt with money, a lot of money. You know, giving a kid that's 18, 19 years old who never dealt with a lot of money, and you giving him that money, he's not going to know how to handle it for the most part unless he's very smart, smart. So Dusty Rhodes didn't know how to handle money. You saw what happened with Dusty Rhodes, man. The guy was broke. Before Vince called him up and he went and run at NXT, Dusty was out there, man. He was out there
selling Rolex and selling rings and endorsing cars and
everything. And his family, you know, they didn't have no money. And all the success Dusty had over the years, you would think this guy would be loaded.
But you got to think, all them dudes back then had a spending issue. Faster you made it, the faster it leaves your hand.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, you got prime example. Now we're kind of getting off subject here, but a little bit. But prime example, he said him and Ric Flair and each of their wives were in like Atlanta, Georgia, or Miami, Florida, somewhere hot during the summertime. Ric Flair goes buys his wife this mink coat for like a couple of $1,000, like $6,000 or $7,000 mink coat in the South in the summertime. What the hell for? And then Dusty sees that, he goes buys his wife one. And now and they were all sitting at the pool at a hotel or whatever. And then Rick gets the notion, hell, I'm gonna get one better than my wife. Rick comes back with a couple of $1,000 a mink coat. And guess who gets a bigger and better one? Dusty goes gets one. I'm like, what in the hell, man? Y'all done spent about like almost $2 million right there on 2 mink coats or whatever in the summertime in the South, for God's sake.
Well, man,
why? Why?
But basic foolishness. And one thing I will say about that, and and we don't get off this real quick. Ric Flair had been making a lot of money for years. Dusty had too, but not as much as Rick. Now, Rick still will be a very, very wealthy man, even with the spending habits that he had, if he wouldn't have went through all the divorces.
Oh God, sure.
That's
a whole nother story for another day.
Exactly. Dusty, the thing about Dusty, when Dusty was spending money like that, yes, he was making money on par with Ric Flair because Dusty was the booker for NWA for Crockett. So they said Jim Cornette said they was making the same amount of money. That's when he got even with Flair. But Flair had been making $400,000, $500,000 a year since the late 70s. So the Nature Boy Ric Flair had been making a whole bunch of money for a long time. $400,000 back then, Chris, was like $2 million a day. So Flair was always making big money. And so he was years ahead of Dusty. And this is before, and he only had one at that time. I remember the mink coat Ric Flair only had one divorce at that time, and that was the lady that he had married back in the 70s. So he didn't have all those. He didn't have, that was a no fault divorce or whatever. She got tired of Rick because he was all over the country. So he didn't have, he didn't have the spousal payments and all that stuff that he had later on. So Rick still had a bunch of money. Dusty just coming into money, but everything that he was getting, because he was trying to keep up with Ric Flair, he was just spending it, and that was just pretty dumb. But when you come in, it's kind of like Bischoff, and you see you come in, you have a billionaire sitting there, and he says, "Okay, you got a pot of gold here, man. Make my company the top company." And then that guy be like, "Oh, we got a limited amount of funds. Let's sign this person, sign that person, sign that." Money's no object. If Bret Hart wants $17 million, I'm gonna give him $17 million. But man, Vince was so smart. I mean, he was paying those wrestlers, bringing them up to New York. He was paying those wrestlers just a little bit more than what they was making in Memphis, what they was making in the Carolinas. He was paying them a little bit more than what they was making out in Alabama, what they was making in Louisiana, down in the South, a little bit more than what they was making in world class. They might have been making $50 to $200, $300 more a week than what they was making. And they was up there in the big time where they was on national TV.
And that's what drew them, because you got to think, you on national TV where only a couple of thousand people can see you in your area versus the whole world now, and the whole nation now can see you. And Vince, they say Vince was such a sweet talker, man. He could sell water to a whale and make you feel like you walking away with $1 million when you only gave you $5.
Exactly. What's up, Luke? I see Luke's in the house.
What's going on? So we're gonna keep on trucking because I forgot about it. This is a Friday night SmackDown night, so we want to come kind of get through this here.
Yeah, let me hit these comments. What's up, AJ Scales? AJ says, "Hey Harry and Chris, Friday night SmackDown." Yes, it is, AJ. Ray Underwood said, "Hello, fellas." What's up, Ray? Ray Underwood. Vince is a sneaky businessman. He is out for himself. There's no doubt, Ray.
Oh God,
there's no doubt, man.
That's been known.
All right, my man Scott Larson, Chris might have already answered this. Do you guys think? Yeah, he did. WWE is just wrestling. Did they make it too hard for other companies to grow? They definitely did. But one thing speaking about other companies trying to grow, Scott, and this one thing I try to stress as far as out here on these independent shows and everything, what I see is monkey see, monkey do, or hey, whatever the leader is doing, you're gonna try to do. Follow the leader. And that's one thing that is a huge mistake when you try to follow exactly what Vince McMahon is doing. That's what Eric Bischoff did with WCW. WCW had a model. They had been doing it for a long time. They came in, even when they went to Nitro, when they did Nitro, they still was running the old WCW model, and it was only 300 300. I think that last week before he brought in Scott Hall, and he brought in Scott Hall, then he brought in Nash the next week. The week before he brought in Scott Hall, they lost by 326 people. That's all they lost by. They was almost neck and neck with them, with their style of wrestling. But you know what? Eric Bischoff said, hey, I got to get more like WWF. I got to get more like them. I got to bring in more of those guys. He kept doing it. Do not. And he played right into Vince's hands. Why in the world, if, say, Chris had I'm going to put it as a sport. Chris has a basketball court at his house. I have one at my house. But Chris at his house, I know how Chris played basketball. Chris played basketball rough and rugged like he's playing football. I go over there. I decided to play Chris's game. I was a finesse basketball player. But I decided to go over there and play his game and try to beat him at his game. I get punished. Do not try to beat somebody at their own game and think you're going to beat them long term. That's what happened. And that's what I see with a lot of independent companies and things like that. They look at WWE TV and they try to follow exactly their model, what they're doing. It's okay, man, to take certain elements out of certain things. Certain elements and say, oh, we need to add this to our show. We need to do this and do that. But if you don't have your own mind, if you can't come up with, be creative your own self, man, you are going to fail. And that's what happened to WCW. Eric Bischoff tried to make it another WWE. And that same thing with AEW. Right now, they falling into that same trap. Do not do that. Because Vince, how long have he been doing this same thing, Chris? The way his wrestling show runs? For 41 years.
Yeah.
41 years. So
he got this thing down pat, man. He got this thing down pat.
Exactly. Nobody can do their shows like him. Nobody can do that. So what has happened, Scott, is, man, it changed the wrestling business. It changed it all around. The only people that's not really running on that model, and that's New Japan Pro Wrestling. They're not running on that model. Everybody else is trying to run on that model. I don't care. You can look at Impact. You look at AEW, you look at everybody else, they're trying to run on that model. They might throw some other things in there themselves, but for the most part, they're trying to run that model, and it's not working for them, straight up. All right, man, let's see. Then Scott says, do you think when Vince dies, the McMahon name in wrestling dies with him? No. Heck no. Heck no.
Heck no, man. There's gonna be a McMahon somewhere in that. It's somewhere on that board. They might not be the top dog. They may not be the chairman. They may not be the CEO. But somewhere there's gonna be a McMahon somewhere in that business. I don't care if they selling T-shirts at the shows. There's gonna be a McMahon somewhere in that business. I guarantee you.
And one thing I will say, hey, who's saying Vince dies? Triple H has a lot of respect for Vince. Who says Triple H won't say, hey, I'm done with it? Who's saying that Stephanie, Triple H, and Shawn come back and say, we're going to start our own company and start another wrestling company, be similar to what WWE is, shut WWE down. Man, it's so many different possibilities because, TKO, what's funny about Ari Daivari, the way he's talking like he knows what he's doing. Like he knows the wrestling game. And, man, I'm going to put people in this position, that position. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I hate to say it. And I know some other promoters are probably listening or whatever. And I know, Scott, I know you know a lot of promoters just like Chris and I know a lot of promoters. But I can tell you straight up from our travels and everybody that we've met in this business, promoters, bookers, and I'm going to go with ring announcers, wrestlers, and everything. All these people out here say they know wrestling, they know what they're doing and everything like that. Hey, for the most part, no, they don't. And it's not just these people out here, because I can go to a whole bunch of guys who have retired from the game. I'm talking about big time wrestlers. I'm talking about people like the Mongolian Stomper, people like Kevin Sullivan, people like Dutch Mantell, people like Jim Cornette, guys who's been in the business, who started their own business after they was out of, when they didn't have WCW to fall back on. They didn't have WWE to fall back on. They went out there and they started their own company. Failed. And then we got a lot of local promoters out here think they all that front. It's these guys out here fronting, man.
No future in the front.
Exactly. No future in your front, man. Chris said it right there. You out here fronting that you know what you're doing, and the way these guys are acting, like, hey, they can draw these big old huge crowds, they can get all these people, man. Hey, I know about the wrestling business. I strapped up the tights and everything like that. Hey, man, me and Christopher Burton, we put on football pants too. Don't mean we can go out there and start a new league. I'm sorry. It just don't happen like that, man. It doesn't happen like that. You got to know something about business, and you got to know, you got to be on a level with the average everyday people and what they want to see. You just do. And that one thing that Chris and I've seen, and I've seen this time and time again, and Chris has too, as us going to these shows. What do these wrestlers do after they get finished with their match, Chris?
Oh man, they head out and doggone go to Waffle House, or just head to the house and that's it. Don't watch no more of the shows. Don't watch no reactions or nothing of the crowd or nothing.
It's exactly. They come around. They asking us. They asking other wrestlers. Hey, did you see my match? Did you see my match? What you think about my match? Taking off. How many times do you think that's happened to where these wrestlers, and a lot of some promoters, they just stay in the back, or they might get over and they might sit there and they talk to their booker or whatever. They're not paying attention to it either. And I've heard local promoters who say they don't watch the WWE. They don't watch AEW. If you don't watch that, then, man, like I said, you defeating the purpose. You are defeating yourself.
AEW and WWE basically giving you a model to follow.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can basically look at their model, take bits and pieces out of their model,
exactly,
put it into yours, but yet make it your own.
That's exactly right.
They're giving you the blueprint. All you got to do is just take a piece here, a piece there, switch it up, change it up, and make it fit what you're trying to do, and you can be successful.
That's exactly right. You take the good. You got to be able to take the good out of what they're doing and say, okay, let me be able to run a model, something like that. But I have to make it my own. Every single thing that you do, you have to make it your own. I mean, I'm pretty sure every car company that came up, that came up after Ford, they looked at what Ford was doing and say, okay, this is how we make a car company. This is how we're going to be successful. You got to be able to do that. If you don't have that, man, you don't have nothing. So when people say, oh, I don't watch the WWE. What in the world you mean you don't watch the WWE and you running a wrestling company? WWE, hey, these guys are bringing in 20,000 fans every show. These guys are bringing, these guys are, when I add SmackDown, Raw together, and NXT, these guys are bringing in between 4.3 to 4.7 million fans a week are watching the WWE. So what do you mean you're not watching that? That's just flat out foolishness, even though you don't want your brand to be like that. You have got to watch them. You have got to watch your competition. And it doesn't matter if you are, a local show. If me and Chris started a In-N-Out burger, and right down the road, we got at our In-N-Out burger, we still have breakfast. Say we're running breakfast. We're selling sausage biscuits. We're selling gravy biscuits. We're selling hot cakes or whatever. And we're selling coffee. For people coming in the morning, they buying coffee. Guess who's our competition? The local 7-Eleven down the road. That's our competition. They sell coffee too. Okay? The local grocery store that give out free coffee, or that sell coffee on the shelf. That's our competition too. You got to look at every single thing that's in your business is your competition. Be like, man, hey, you have to think of yourself as a company. I have a wrestling company and I'm trying to put on local wrestling, but these people that's in this local area or whatever, they look at TV too. Wrestling is still on TV. Hey, the local Walmart, the local Target, they selling little wrestling finger rings and things like that. They selling things that's related to wrestling. They might buy that for their nephew, nieces, or kids, or whatever. Buy it for themselves. Look, I don't spend enough money on this, and I've been watching wrestling on TV. There's a lot of wrestling on TV. You got WWE, you got AEW, you got Impact, you got Women of Wrestling, that WOW or whatever that is. You got all this stuff out here. I'm looking at all this wrestling, and I'm looking at it on TV. and I might pay for cable or some streaming services. I see wrestling, and I'm buying wrestling on this. Why in the world should I pay $10 for your local show? If you're gonna try to bring me the same thing, I'll walk in there and you're gonna do the same exact thing that they're doing. You're copying that model. Why in the world should I go to your show when your wrestlers are not? When WWE or AEW have the superior wrestlers. Most times they have superior wrestlers, guys that's been through the gauntlet, guys that went up there, got the best training. You got to put on a show with the wrestlers that you have. You got to make sure that you put on a show that's spectacular, and you got to give these people something different that they're not getting. Or if you put it on something that's close to what they're doing, it's got to be an element that's different to make these guys think on another level. But yeah, let me go and finish up with these comments. And yeah, Chris and I, we're gonna be on here for probably about 15 more minutes, but we're gonna finish up with these comments, guys, and we're gonna get back most of this conversation about all these shares that Vince sold. Okay, AJ Scales, what's up, AJ? Harry, Vince McMahon should own AEW just like he did WCW and ECW. Better, yeah. Should own Impact Wrestling. Man, AJ,
Lord, mercy. Don't run a monopoly, man. I mean, it sounds good. Exactly. It sounds good, but don't run a monopoly, man. You want variety, man. That's like going to Baskin Robbins.
Yes.
What was it 43 flavors or whatever their slogan is?
It's a lot. 62 flavors. I don't know.
Yeah, 62 flavors or something crazy like that. You go to a Baskin Robbins or your local ice cream shop, and you want chocolate ice cream, but they were like, nope, the only flavor we gonna have and forever will have is vanilla.
Yeah, right.
I mean, come on, man. Everybody don't eat vanilla ice cream.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, some people like sherbet, some people want cookies and cream, some people like Rocky Road. You might like chocolate, but you go to your local ice cream shop and you want chocolate ice cream, and they be like, nope, the only kind we have from here on out until the day we close will be vanilla.
Yeah, exactly. Variety.
That's not smart. That's not smart.
Variety is good and competition is good. I mean, look, we could have been just eating as far as hamburgers. And I tell you what, McDonald's wanted to run a monopoly. Ray Epps didn't want anybody else out there. But hey, we got our McDonald's, we got our Burger King, we got our Wendy's, we got our Hardee's, we got our local shops, we got our clocks here, Chris.
Yep.
So
we got a variety.
Yeah, we got a variety. We don't want that. We can go downtown and pretty much go to the Charleston Sports Club and get us a burger or whatever. And they got great burgers. So it's good to have that variety, and it's good for wrestling not to be monopolized. And Vince, in my opinion, I think he kind of wish he wouldn't have done it, because it caused a lot of problems. Because everybody that got big in wrestling, where did they want to come, Chris? To the WWE. And finally, they ended up there. And when Vince didn't have room for them, it didn't have anything for him, after he probably puts their name out there, got them out there big, and had to bring them down so he can bring other people up. What happened? The fans turned on him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's crazy, man. It really is. All right, Mr. Scott Larson from #Truth. We miss you guys. Connie. Okay, that's Connie. How you doing, Connie? Miss you too. We miss you too. And Scott, definitely do. All right, #Truth OVW on Netflix shows you how hard it is as an independent company to be great on TV.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's pretty good. I haven't seen it.
Gotta check that out.
I haven't watched Netflix in a while. Yeah. And we got Luke Childress on Facebook. Luke Childress said, "What's up, boys? What's up, Luke?
What's up, Luke? Man. What's up?" Yeah, but man, Vince McMahon, very astute businessman, knows what he's doing.
Yeah,
not gonna let anybody take him down. And believe me, the man's not answering to nobody right now.
He going out on his own terms, man.
Exactly.
He's going out the way he want to go out.
Yeah, he's not answering to nobody. And I'm sure Ari Daivari, any of these guys come and try to make any demands to Vince McMahon.
Good luck on that one, boy.
Vince is gonna say, "Hey, I'm pulling out everything." And there's one podcaster out here, huge podcaster, BC Amplified. And what was funny about him, he said something about, as soon as Ari said something to him the first time, he said Vince could have just said, "Hey, forget this, guys. I'm gonna take my ball and I'm gonna run. I'm taking the whole company back." And he pretty much went ahead with the scenario of how Vince can, he can pretty much take it out, take it back because that's what they said at the beginning.
Yeah.
Each company, UFC and WWE, they could pull away from the deal at any time. That's one thing. That's another thing that they have not told people, that those companies could both pull out anytime they wanted to. With a penalty, of course, they will be paying, fines or whatever, because TKO is going to get their money out of it. But they both can pull out. But Vince McMahon is not going to do that. Vince McMahon is riding that gravy train as a conglomerate as long as he can to see how much money it can get, because together that company makes more money than what the WWE was making. And all Vince is doing is sitting there waiting for a stock to go up so he can buy his stock back. And Vince has been worth $2 billion for probably the last 8 or 9 years. I think he's been worth $2 billion as far as in Forbes. Vince, when he leaves that company, he's gonna be worth probably about $4 or $5 billion.
Oh,
because of the acquisition. And that was a very smart move from him. And a lot of people thinking he wants to get back and do that XFL thing because that's his baby. And he's 78 years old, guys. So he might be just leaving wrestling behind and say, I'm leaving it to these guys, because the wrestling fans that we have left, they can't be satisfied. For the most part, they can't be satisfied. And it's not just on the fans when it boils down to it. The fans just want a better product. But
wrestling, I'm gonna say this: wrestling fans are so fickle, man.
Oh yeah,
you ain't never. I mean, me and you included, Harry, because we are fans of the business.
Oh yeah,
wrestling fans are so fickle, and they want certain things at certain times, and when you don't get it, you're like a spoiled child. You have a fit, you throw a tantrum. Like Triple H said, I'm going to Twitter and I'm gonna post this and I'm gonna get angry and write in all caps, and they're never gonna watch the product again.
Yeah, me and my friend Dunny, we're gonna start watching if you don't do what we want you to do or whatever.
I mean, you're one person out of a billion that probably watch wrestling. Do you think you are gonna hurt them at all? No. I hate to say it, but no.
Yeah, but that's what fans did. And look, it's just like last week, Crown Jewel. The people that got upset about LA Knight not winning. It wasn't as bad as Cody Rhodes, but people come in with expectations. And they want you to do what they want you to do. Not what's good for the company. If Cody Rhodes would have had that title, hey, people would have already been tired of it.
Yep.
Because they would have been like, he didn't work hard for the title, and this other wrestler, he deserves the title. These wrestling fans today, they want to
Cody, and then next thing you know, they put the title on somebody else. They have it for about a couple of months. Okay, maybe they ain't doing it right. They got the title, but they ain't doing it the way they should do it. Give it back to Cody.
Yes.
What? And then you got a scenario they want to play hot potato. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, and man, I'll tell you, that mess with anybody that's booking shows or producing shows out here. That mess with these guys. That mess with these ladies and gentlemen who's trying to write the show. Because they're like, hey, we got to. It's subconsciously, it's got to be in your head. So that, man, if I do this, I'm gonna upset some fans. If the fans expect this, it has to be in your mind some kind of way. Some kind of way. Even if you go your own way, it's there. It's there.
Because you got to think, man, the creative team basically sits in a room, come up with different scenarios and ideas about different scenarios, matches, and rivalries. Okay, if we do this with Cody versus Damian Priest, you might have 6 or 7 people on the creative team. Everybody's got their own opinion on how they should work the storyline with Cody and Damian. Okay, obviously, it's all got to make sense, and everybody has to be on agreement. But I'm sure Triple H, basically like Vince McMahon, has a final yay or nay on what direction they're gonna go. And like you said, Harry, at some point where you're pitching ideas, you got to think, okay, this is a great idea in my mind, but subconsciously you got to think, okay, if we pitch this and somehow we go with this, and we go with my idea, there's gonna be some fans that's gonna think it's the worst idea ever.
That's true. That's true.
You know, but it's that's the risk you got to take, man. I mean, it just is what it is. You ain't gonna satisfy everybody all the time, and you know, Vince, like I said, he did not satisfy everybody all the time, and he did things his way.
Yes.
Or even at times, you know, he might have had, okay, I'm gonna listen to the fans, and I'm gonna actually listen to the fans every once in a while, and be like, okay, maybe we should move in this direction. Maybe we should move in this direction. You know, and he weighed it and he thought about it, and if it didn't work, guess what? It went back to his way.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, it just is what it is. But yeah, let's go ahead and finish these up here so we can go and get out of here and get ready for SmackDown tonight, guys.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Yeah, that's one thing that I was basically about to say. But yeah, let me see. AJ Scales, Harry, what would you do if Vince made Triple H chairman of the board company and gave him the keys to the company? Look, man, he can do it with WWE as far as that. I mean, Vince has a say, but as far as in TKO Holdings, where Vince is sitting at, he definitely can't do that because
Triple H have to buy him out.
Yeah, Triple H, yeah, he doesn't, and he doesn't have the shares, and that's one thing Vince do have to be able to rule, like as far as over the, you know, have a say. He does have his say, and he's where the buck stops.
Mm-hmm.
But he can't just go in there and say, "Hey, I'm leaving down, I'm stepping down, and my successor is Triple H." He can't say that because him moving down, him stepping down or stepping out, selling his shares, he's not going to have, like I said, he's not going to have that final say. And even if he did step out of the company and went somewhere else and still had his shares and say he's not active in the company, actively in the company, he can't just say, "Oh, you got to put Triple H right there." He can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a 12-member board. And if he steps from the company, he cannot fire those people from the board. So he can't do that. And as far as Triple H, I don't know if Triple H have the business acumen. Now, we know he's been around the business a long time. We know what he's doing. We know what he did with NXT Gold, Black and Gold. And we see what he's doing now. But we don't know if it doesn't mean that he has the business acumen that Vince McMahon had. This whole thing, man, we don't know if this whole thing is, I don't care if Nick Khan's in there, Triple H in there, or whoever's in there. We don't know if this whole thing is gonna fall apart if Vince steps down and be finished with this thing tomorrow, or something happens to Vince health fails, and Vince is out of here. We don't know what happened with the WWE because that's a huge company, man. And the way that management is set up and structured there, who actually knows how to run that thing when it boils down to it? Mm-hmm. I don't know if anybody knows how to run that thing exactly like Vince McMahon. Man, can you imagine, Chris, if me and you, they took us in the offices there and say, "Okay, here's the business, run it."
Oh, woo!
My brain would explode, man. I'd be like, I'm out of here. I can't do this.
Exactly.
When you look at every single aspect of that business, of the WWE, there's no way in the world. I'll be like, there's no way in the world I can do this. But guys, appreciate you coming on, man. Look, we have not said this, but hey, if you're on Facebook, hit that like, share, join. If you're on YouTube, hit that like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, ding, ding, ding.
Yes.
So you know we're on like times like these. Do the same thing on Twitch, and we are live on Twitch. And when you see us on X, formerly known as Twitter,
mm-hmm.
hit that like, share, tweet, and retweet, and tell them what else to do over there.
And follow the Straight Up Wrestling Show.
No doubt. But guys, we will see you later on for SmackDown, and hey, maybe a little bit of Rampage. I don't know if Chris is going to stay on for Rampage, but I probably will. Probably not. I don't know. But we'll see you later on tonight. You guys have a good one. Stay straight up. Peace.
Peace.